lucky one.
Oh, we're live again.
We're live. Second time lucky.
Let's have a look. Let me go and find it. Make sure my son has stolen my phone, so I'm going to have to. Here we go.
Come up. Yeah, it has said you're live.
Yeah. There you go. Son's stolen my phone, so I'm going to have to watch the Facebook comments on here. Welcome, everyone. It's Wednesday. It's 7:30-ish. And we are live once again. Give us a thumbs up if you're watching it live. If you're watching this in the replay, then please write replay in the comments so I can see that you've watched it and you've enjoyed it, hopefully. And I am joined by Vicky. Welcome, Vicky. How are you doing?
Hello. Yeah, not bad. Thank you. How are you?
Good. Very good. And
I haven't been on for a while. It's been a little while since we last had our little chats on here.
It has. So maybe you can, for the new members of the group, maybe you can just introduce yourself.
Yes. So, hello everyone. If you don't know me, my name is Vicky, and I run and own the Pet Accountant, which is an accountancy firm basically dedicated to helping pet professionals all across the UK. So whether you are a dog groomer, a dog boarder, a dog walker, or anything in between, if you're pet related, then I will do your accounts. I've been self-employed doing accountancy for the past 8 years now. The first 7 was in a family business with my uncle, and then he retired, thankfully, and I took the reins and decided to never work with a family member. Decided to take it in a completely different direction. I didn't enjoy dealing with plumbers and builders and things because they don't engage, and it was a bit boring, if I'm honest. I had a few dog groomers on my books anyway, and a conversation with a client that said, we could do with a bit of help. And yeah, it went from there. It literally went a bit crazy. It was one post on Facebook, which I think might have been in your group, Bill. I think it was yours, because I probably was, because I'm sure we chatted soon after, and I was inundated with messages literally overnight. It was bonkers. And I think speaking to, I can't think how many people I spoke to now, hundreds, thousands probably. She wasn't wrong. I think this is an industry that does need help with the finance side, and I think we were just discussing before, it's something that people tend not to want to talk about or don't talk about because of a lack of knowledge maybe, or just people hate doing taxes and finances, and it's always that one thing that gets pushed at the bottom of the to-do list, even though really it should be at the top. So yeah, I started the Pet Accountant, and yeah, absolutely love it. I've got some great clients. I don't care how big or how small you are. I like helping people. I like having the conversation and getting to know their business and watching them grow. It's quite good. So that's just a very, very brief intro, because I know a lot of you probably have seen my face enough to know who I am without blabbering on.
So thank you for that. And tonight's it can be an interactive session. If anyone has got a burning question about their accounts, which they're too scared to ask their accountant about, or they're too concerned to phone, too scared to phone HMRC about, then maybe we can help you and try and find you an answer. So I'm monitoring the comments. So if you've got a question that you'd like to ask Vicky, chuck it in the comments, just because no such thing as a silly question, and by you asking a question, it might actually help all the other people that are listening and watching this live. So be brave, put your questions in here. It's a very safe space, and we're more than happy to try and help you with anything that around the, accounting as much as we can. Me and Vicky go to a lot of grooming shows and trade shows together, and what always comes out, I find, when we're talking to people, is how much your sort of high street accountants, or that they kind of don't understand the industry, maybe dismiss some people in the industry, thinking that it's like a hobby, or you just like, they don't really give it the credit. So that's what I like about you with your niche, is that you actually understand what the industry has, what the industry buys, like leggings
Yeah,
or savvy or,
it
a
is.
table and stuff like that.
It is things literally as small as that. Savvy, Christie's, like I say, all the clothing. When it says Bath on a set of on your bank statement, then might not necessarily know that is to do with your work, and may miss it out because some accounts are thorough, some aren't, and if they don't know what it is, they might think, oh, that's actually personal, and just skip it. And actually, I've had a few conversations this week already with potential clients, and they've all said the same thing this week. No word of a lie. Every single person I spoke to this week has basically said the same thing, saying, I have an accountant, but, and there's always a but, because we are like dentists. And I always say this, once you find a good one, you ain't going to leave. Once you find a good dentist, you're not going to move for anything, no matter how much they charge you or whatever. If they're good, you will stay. And it is the same with accountants. I've had the same clients I had 7 years ago. And all this week I've had, oh, I do have an accountant, but, and I say, okay, what's the but? And it's always to do with communication mainly. They don't speak to me, or I can't get hold of them, or they take 3 weeks to reply, or they're not really interested in my business, or they don't really understand what I do. And this is coming from like a dog walker. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory what they do. Or they're just not interested, because I'd say most, not all of them, but a lot of the high street accountants, a lot of the big firms, they want businesses that are earning 200, 300, 400,000 pounds a year, £1 million a year. And it shouldn't be like that. And you get someone that walks in, it might be only 30, 40 grand a year, and they're just like, yeah, whatever. And they'll still take you on, but they probably won't give you as much help as they would if their client's earning £1 million. And it shouldn't be like that, but unfortunately it is. But not with me. I say anybody, anybody, big, small, medium. As long as we get on, then that's why I do the calls, because again, you've said this before, you've got to say your account is like an extension of your business.
Definitely.
We're not the sort, we're not the person that you just speak to once a year. I mean, you could be, if that's how you want to work, that's absolutely fine. But I always say to my clients when I speak to them, please ring me. If you have a question, if you need help, please don't go on Facebook and put it into the groups. Please, unless it's my group, please ask me, ring me, keep in contact. This is what you pay me for. And I can't stress that enough, because, I think you need to be able to have that relationship with your accountant, so that you can just ring them up and go, I just want to chat because I've bought something silly or whatever.
Definitely, it's you're an extension of people's businesses. I suppose, you're a critical friend is how I'd probably classify the accountant, because if I've got big decisions to make, or I need to think financially, I've got big decisions to make, I want to include my accountant in those decisions, and I want them to give me advice as to what I need to do, and whether what I'm thinking about is going to be the best thing to do, and how that's going to affect me in the future, and affect my books, and affect my business. So you're a critical friend, and there should be a relationship there, shouldn't there?
Yeah, I mean, I say 99% of my clients I'm very friendly with. We go out for dinner, we go out for drinks, and I want to have that relationship, because it makes it easier for us then to communicate. And I think doing this within this industry for the last sort of 13 months, 14 months, I think that the most thing that people's teams get in trouble with is the VAT threshold. And I think it's because, again, communication with their accountant, not keeping accurate records of their income and expenditure. I'm a massive fan of a spreadsheet. I love a good spreadsheet, but the downside of using a spreadsheet is that unless you have it all set up correctly, most people just go in and go, right, January, blah, 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 February, blah, 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 March, blah, 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 and they're not keeping track of that income that's coming in. And then they get to the end of the year and then they go, crap, I'm on £90,000. And they've hit that threshold because they haven't been keeping track, or they haven't been communicating with their accountant I always say to people, and I've had a few in the past that have gone, oh God, I do their accounts in April, and I think, you've hit 100 grand. Why didn't you speak to me? Oh, I don't know. You think, so,
So, I've got a question about that then. So if you submit your end of year accounts and you're at 90,000, so obviously, yeah. Oh, cheers. Obviously, you've gone over the VAT threshold accidentally, unknowingly. I don't know if that holds up with the HMRC. What do they do about that circumstances? Obviously, you're going to register as soon as you possibly can.
Yeah, so technically, you are supposed to register when you think you're going to hit it. A lot of people just register once they've hit it, which is fine. But technically, you're supposed to register when you think you're going to hit it. So if I was sat on 80,000 and I knew by April or May I was going to go past that 85, then I should technically register at that point that I realise that I'm going to go for it. A lot of people don't do that. A lot of people will just do it when they hit it. And some people will go past it and think, oh, bugger, I didn't realise. And it's not a major deal. It just means that you have to register from the date that you actually hit that threshold, and you have to backdate everything to that point. So it's a bit admin heavy and a bit messy. But if you've got an accountant or a bookkeeper who knows what they're doing with that, then they will, or we will sort it all out. It's not, if you've just gone over it by a few grand or 5 grand, it's not a massive headache. If you go to like 150 grand and you haven't registered, that's when it gets a bit tricky. They'll just backdate everything, so you'll end up just getting a massive bill, basically.
I just want to be clear, they backdate it, they don't backdate it to zero.
No, to the 85. Yeah.
A lot of people have that fear that a lot of people have the fear that when they get to 85,000, it's VAT on 0 to 85.
No,
but it's from 85 upwards.
From 85 onwards. So if you get to 90, all they do is backdate to the 85, and you'll pay the VAT on that 5 grand and whatever else you've done. So, like I say, it's not a massive deal. If you know someone, like I say, I've got myself and Lee do VAT returns. We've had a few that have gone over. It just takes a bit of time and a bit of admin. And yeah, you might get a bit of a hefty bill, but once it's done, then you can then start moving forward. So as much as I know some people don't like the thought of getting a software, I think that will eliminate, well, it should eliminate that ever happening, because free agent gives you a cash flow at the top, and it gives you your rolling 12 months. So the VAT is a rolling 12 months. It doesn't stop and start at the end of the tax year. It rolls on. So on free agent, it'll give you a cash flow for the last 12 months. So you will see when that hits 80 and you think, okay, maybe I need to do something there. So I think that should eliminate people sort of going past it, as long as obviously they use the software.
Can you explain that a little bit to me? Because I get confused about this. Because I always kind of thought you get to the end of your financial year and you're like, phew, I did 80,000. So I'm clear for another year, but that's not the case, is it?
It literally just rolls on. So, from May to May, June to June, July to July, it just carries on. It doesn't stop at April and then you start again. So on free agent, I'll have the cash flow and it'll just keep moving month to month to month in a 12-month block. Mm-hmm. And it'll do your running turnover at the top, and it just keeps going and going. And then you'll see at the top when it hits that 80 grand. So I think that is where people go wrong. They think, phew, I've done 80 grand, or in April, we'll start again at 0. But no, it'll carry on. So the more money you make, obviously that will increase as the months go on. It just rolls on.
Yeah. Okay. Just a couple of comments coming in. Georgina is in Ireland, and their VAT threshold is 37,500, and
wow.
It's at 23%. So it's completely different. It's a completely different mindset, and it's probably, or maybe it's a different mindset in the fact that you just know you're going to be dealing with it.
I think that's probably better, to be honest. I think it would be a lot easier if it was lower, because then I don't think there'd be so much fear around it. I think when people get in business, they just see that 85 grand as, oh my God, if I hit that, I'm screwed. Whereas I think if it was just either an automatic thing, like you go self-employed, you automatically go VAT registered, then I don't think it would be as much of an issue. Like if they said, right, if you're going to be a sole trader or limited company, automatically have to go VAT register from day one, I don't think people would bat an eyelid.
No.
I think it's because you go through your business time and then you hit 85, and then it's like, oh my God, now everything's going to have to change and I have to put my prices up. Whereas I think if we had it at the beginning, I mean, I know some accountants that literally started their business and just voluntarily went VAT registered from day one, so that they don't have that uncomfortable conversation at 85 grand, no matter what you do as a business, and go, well, actually, I'm now going to have to put my prices up 20% or whatever.
Yeah.
But there's ways around it. There's flat rate schemes, there's all sorts. And I think people need to, rather than fear it, I would see it as an accomplishment. Not everyone gets to 85 grand. You know, some people work their arse off and still don't get to that 85 grand mark. So I think if you do, then see it as an accomplishment and go, well, once I've done that, then I can get to 150, you know, and just carry on. There's no block then to your mind of where you can go with it.
And that's really interesting. And so a few things that come in there is mindset change. You don't pay the VAT, your clients pay the VAT. So that's one thing to start thinking about and to change your mindset around that. You don't pay it. We pass it on and we collect it.
It's basically, you're collecting money on behalf of the government. It doesn't go into your bank. It's like I say, you're collecting it. And I think, you know, communicating that to your customers, look, I'm not being greedy by putting my prices up 20%. I have to legally do it. All I'm doing is collecting money for the government and giving it to them. You might get a bit back with whatever you purchase, but you know, you usually always have a VAT bill to give to them. And you know, if you lose a few customers, then so be it. They obviously went with you because of your skill and whatever you do, whether that be an accountant, groomer, walker, whatever, because they've gone because you put the price up a fiver. You know, if they value you and what you do, then the clients won't leave. And all it does if they do leave is you've got rid of the customer that you don't want and is not helpful to you, and you'll get someone that will come in and pay that amount and won't grumble because you are an excellent dog groomer. You know, if someone grumbles over £5, £10, when they'll spend that easily down the pub on a Friday night or 2 coffees in a day from Costa or everywhere else you want to shop, you know, I think you've just got to crack on and go with it.
And the other thing that I've been listening to over the last few weeks is accountants telling their clients not to do it. I'm like, this is madness.
I mean, I hear loads of horror stories. I've had, I mean, also, and you know, I did that chat with Helen on my group, and she had a horror of an accountant, even if you can call him that. And she calls him something slightly different.
He's striking off. He needs to be put out of practice.
Yeah, he does. And the likelihood of that happening is very slim, unfortunately. But, you know, I don't know why. The only thing I can think of why accountants would do that is either they're too busy and don't want the extra work. They don't know how to do it, so they put them off. I don't really know why they would say that, in all honesty. You know, why would you not? I don't get it. Why would you? And I know I've heard some people say, oh, well, I'll pay 10% of the cost, and then so my client only pays 10%. Do you think any other business in the country would pay their VAT on behalf of their client? Absolutely not. No. So why should you? Why pay 10%? Just add the 20% on. If they don't want to pay it, see you later. Someone else will come in and fill their shoes. I had a client years ago who was a cleaner, so not pet related. And I said to her, right, you're going to hit the VAT threshold. We're going to have to register you for VAT. Is there any way around it? No. There must be. No, there isn't. And she argued with me, like physically argued with me, and said, you're supposed to be an accountant. You're supposed to tell me ways around this. And I'm like, there isn't. Unless you don't earn that money, there is no way around it. I'm very sorry, there isn't. And she hated it. She went VAT registered. She emailed all her clients. She called all her clients. She lost a few, and she was having an absolute meltdown. I mean, like really, really having a complete meltdown, screaming at me down the phone. She's no longer a client. And now, because we've chatted and everything since then, it doesn't bother her, because she lost a few clients, but she gained a lot more due to her reputation of how good her company was at cleaning. So all that stress and anger at the time was not needed, because I think she just saw the drop in clients and thought, oh my God. But actually they quickly, she filled her spots within a couple of weeks, and now she's like, meh, fat, whatever. And I think, you screamed at me and were like, you're not doing your job properly. And I was like, there is no other option. I'm really sorry.
It's all mindset. It's all mindset.
It is. It really is. And I think it's just, you've got to just switch it and think, actually, this is a really positive thing. I'm going to go on to 100 grand now. Sod everybody, and if you lose some, you will gain it back. It's simple as that.
So Tasha's just got a quick question saying, if you're £85,000 turnover and you go over to 90,000 and you register for VAT, all you got to worry about is the £5,000.
Yeah. Obviously, then moving forward, do your VAT returns. But yeah, just that £5,000. They'll just backdate it. So I would always recommend, if anyone goes limited or VAT registered, to get an accountant or a bookkeeper, because you can get yourself in quite a pickle, especially with limited company accounts, if you don't know what you're doing. They're very, very complex. They take a long time, even for us to do, no matter whether you're big or small, that they are very, very complex. So please get help if you are doing it. Because I've had some horror stories. Every time I speak to a client, are you limited yet? And have you done this? No. And you think, so please get help if you are either of those two things and you don't know what you're doing.
Okay. We've got Lauren, one of your faithful customers.
She is, Lauren. Hi, Lauren.
She's too scared to speak to you, by the looks of it. Question to ask.
Lauren, call me.
It's more of a bookkeeping question. So, she said not scared, just haven't got round to it. She's busy. Lauren is very busy, smashing her business at the moment, expanding her business and doing really well. So I've heard a lot recently that people raise a daily invoice inside of QuickBooks and let the incoming payment link up. I'm not doing this. Should I be?
You don't need to. I know a lot of dog groomers that don't give invoices. Actually, I can probably think on one hand the amount of people that I know that do invoices. At the minute, you don't need to. It's best practice that you do, but it's not the end of the world if you don't. Whether they change those rules when everything goes digital, I don't know. That quite possibly could happen. But at the minute, if you don't have invoices, don't worry. When you either use QuickBooks or any of the softwares, when you come to label it, so normally if you have an invoice, when the payment comes in, it'll automatically match the invoice with the payment. If you don't have that invoice, all you have to do when you go onto your bank page on the software is just click on it and label it as sales. And then that'll just go as the turnover on your profit and loss account in the background. So if you haven't got an invoice, don't panic. Just literally label it as sales. If you do, then it should automatically link each payment with each invoice. Obviously, that might be a bit tricky with dog groomers. If you've had like 10 cockapoos in a day and you all charge the same amount, and then I don't know how they're going to marry up with who's paid what, because they're all the same. So it still works. It just means you have to manually go in and label them up, but you don't have to, but it is best practice.
Once again, we fall foul of these systems saying that they're like, scan your receipts and they'll do everything for you. It's just not that simple, is it?
It really annoys me, especially Facebook. I mean, Facebook's the only one I really see, and not Facebook, QuickBooks is the only one I really see advertised on the radio and the TV. And they're just like, oh, please take a snap of this receipt, and magically your profit and loss account appears and it's all done and it's all correct. And they make it look so easy, and it is easy to people who know what they're doing. But for your average person that has never run a business before, who's never looked at accounts or tax returns or anything like that, will look at QuickBooks and be like, what the hell? And I think what people don't realise is bank reconciliation, yeah, it's easy, you just need to click on it and pick a category. But what they don't realise is that in the background, whilst you're doing that, it is creating a profit and loss, a balance sheet, a trial balance, depending on what you are, in the background. So if you do something wrong on the bank rec, your trial balance and your profit and loss and everything is going to be out of whack in the background. And if you don't know what you've done is wrong, when you come to look at your profit and loss to do your tax return, you'll be like, oh, perfect, all the figures are there, bosh, in it goes. but actually the stuff that's on there is wrong, but you don't know because you don't know what you're looking at.
Yeah.
And I think, we were discussing before we came live, when we had a couple of people at the last show we went to, one said to me, I'm just going to wait to see if HMRC ring me and tell me what I've done wrong, which she'll be waiting a long time, bless her, because HMRC will never, ever, ever ring you and say, oh, we've just double checked your tax return, we found a few errors. It's done on good faith. They expect you to have done it, and they won't check it. They might dip in and dip sample, but they won't check it and say, oh, by the way, you put that in the wrong box. So it's so important that you understand where the figures are supposed to go. It's easy to get the figures, but it's then putting them in the right box. And the other lady that we had, bless her, that had a £14,000 tax bill, and I always use this, I hope she doesn't mind, obviously I'm not going to say names or anything, as an example, because when we had a chat, she didn't really know what her expenses were, and she just whacked anything in the box, and consequently £14,000 tax bill, which is huge. And I thought, so we had a bit of a chat in the background, and she hadn't utilised all of her expenses properly, and I've now pretty much done the work and the background to sort that. And I know, I haven't finished it yet, but I know, and I don't know if she's watching. If she is, then she'll find out in a minute. I know that £14,000 tax bill will go to zero, and she's already paid £10,000 of it. So I will be getting £10,000 back for her, because of just knowing about your expenses and what is supposed to go in what box. Maybe if she hadn't spoken to me, she'd have paid that and she'd be £14,000 lighter. All because of not knowing what goes in what box and not utilising your expenses properly. That's mad. 14 grand.
There you go. Critical friend. Your accountant is your critical friend.
Yeah.
So that's amazing, isn't it? Just to clear up on Lauren's point, what we do, we run QuickBooks. And so at the end of each day, I look at how much money we've taken in grooming, and then I raise an end of day invoice in QuickBooks for £800, say. And if it's all card, our card machine pays us the £800. QuickBooks goes into our bank statement and says, here it is. Links up. But you still have to go in and manually say yes, yes, yes to each transaction. And the thing that caught me out and cost me a lot of money, and the thing that catches people out, I'm sure, is, there's still quite a lot of work to do, like you said, but if you put rubbish in, you get rubbish out. So you've got to be all over this systems, haven't you?
It is. The systems are fair. I mean, Free Agent is easy to use, and I can say that it is very, very simple software. But again, it's whether you're labeling stuff correctly, because even when people are taking money out of their business account and paying themselves, a lot of people label that wrong. Now, if you label that wrong and don't label it as drawings or dividends or whatever, depending on what you are, that's going to mess up the whole profit, loss and balance sheet. But again, if you don't realise that what you're doing is wrong, then how are you going to know that the report at the end is wrong and then your tax return is wrong? Which is why whenever I get the question, I get a lot, can I do my own tax return? Anyone can do a tax return, absolutely anybody. Your kids could do a tax return, just log in, put the figures in, bosh, send. Because HMRC very rarely will check it. They don't. So it's about, if you know that you don't understand what you're doing, then get help. If Frank was a long-haired dog, bless him, I'll show you, he's fast asleep. If he's a long-haired dog and I started to groom him with some clippers, I thought, sod it, I'll do it myself, eBay. And I thought, oh, this doesn't look right. Would I carry on? No, I would go to a groomer and go, I think I've destroyed my dog. Please sort it out. And it's the same with accounts. If you don't know what you're doing, please get help. We are not scary people. I'm the least scariest person in the world. We're not massively expensive, although some accountancy firms, I mean, I've heard some ridiculous figures being thrown around. Do your research and don't just go off the price. You'd be annoyed if a potential client came to you and went, well, actually, the dog groomer down the road could do my cockapoo for £5 cheaper. You'd be like, oh, but I'm better. Don't go off price. Go off, can you have a conversation with the person? Do they feel right? Do you research? Helen, if she'd done a research on this fella, which I'll not mention his name, and gone onto company's house and typed in his company name or his name, it would have come up that it had like 5 or 6 companies that got closed. Now that would be a red flag, and you'd be like, that looks a bit odd. Maybe I won't use him. So just do your research, but don't base it on price, because, look at that woman, 14 grand. I could have charged her £3,000 and I still would have saved her 11. I didn't. It was a lot less than that. But, it could be, oh, well, that's too expensive. Just try and stay away from that. And it's, what can they offer you? Can they save you money? Can they save you time and stress? The amount of people that I get that go, I hate my tax return. It stresses me out. I'm having panic attacks because I leave it till like the 20th of January and then think, oh crap, I've got this to do. Just get help and do it. Outsource it. That goes with anything.
Yeah.
I hate doing social media stuff. I outsource it. I don't like doing some bits, so I just outsource it, and then I don't get stressed about it.
Awesome.
We've gone off topic massively. Sorry.
That's right. Hopefully that gives Lauren a bit of an idea. But it does. I know you push free agent for your customers, so maybe it's something. Get a phone call booked in with you and go down that route.
I don't mind using QuickBooks. I have a QuickBooks account. So QuickBooks or free agent. I'll always advocate free agent because I just think it's easier to use for people and you can make less mistakes. But if people want to use QuickBooks, then I've got a QuickBooks account. I've used it before. It's not an issue. I just think free agent is tailored to the majority of the clients that I deal with, because there's less mistakes that you can make.
Okay, cool. So Abigail has asked a question. I went self-employed last July, so July 2021.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't actually got an accountant yet. When do I need to submit my books? Not sure if I have done them yet, which is terrible.
That's fine. So because you started in July 2021, your tax year was April 21 until April 22. So no matter what time you start in between that period, your tax year will still be April 21 to April 22. So your last date, Abby, is the 5th of April 2022. So after that date, so from the 6th of April until the 31st of January 2023, in that time period, I know it's hard with the dates, you can submit and pay your tax return. So basically, Abby, your books will need to be from when you started in July until the 5th of April 2022 that we're in now. And then anytime after that until January, you can submit and pay your tax return.
So go on, just give me what's the definitive date for her to submit her tax return?
31st of January 2023. But I'd never advocate leaving it that long. Please, 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 if anyone takes anything from this chat, is get your books done within the first 3 months, because it'll give you a lot longer. Just because you submit your tax return in April doesn't mean you have to pay it in April. So if everyone gets their tax return done in April and they know they've got a tax bill of, say, £1,000, they know then they've got till January to find that £1,000. If you wait until January and say the 3rd of January after, you've had Christmas and New Year and you sat there sort of going, oh God, and you do it and you've got a £5,000 tax bill, then you've only given yourself until the end of the month to find that money and pay it. So why not just do it in April, May, June, and give yourself that massive time period to find the money to pay it in January? Because as we found out, because of the grants, payments on account came into effect for a lot of people who'd never had it before because of the amount of tax that they owed. So if your tax bill is over £1,000, that's when the payments on account kick in. And basically you'll pay next year's in advance. So if your bill is £1,000, they'll expect next year's bill to be £1,000. So you won't pay £1,000 in January, you'll pay 1,500, and then you'll have another payment in July with the other 500. So you've got to bear that in mind, in that if you have got a tax bill, you'll also have next year's tax bill to add on to it. So get it in early. Don't wait until December, January, even November. If everyone got it in April, May, June, happy days. Because honestly, it will relieve so much stress and pressure because it's done and you know it's done. You've just got to find the money to pay it by January. And that's it. It's all been submitted. HMRC aren't going to fine you. They're not going to chase you. And you know it's been done. I think we were chatting before about, how much to save for tax. And it does really depend on where you're at. If you're a new dog groomer and it's your first year of business, the likelihood of you having a tax bill is very slim. And that's because of the £1,000 you pay on your training, all the equipment, whether you've got a salon, like a commercial property, or whether it's in your garage or your garden, their expenses are so high that the likelihood of you having a tax bill is going to be very slim. So you could either not bother saving for tax that year, or you could just put 50 quid in here and there into a pot for the next one so that it has a bit of a buffer. But it really depends where you're at. If someone who's earning 85, 90, 100 grand, I'd obviously you need to save a bit more for your tax because you're going to have a lot of payments on account. Someone who's just started probably won't save that much because their bill will either be non-existent or will only be a tiny bit. So it just depends. Don't overstretch yourself by putting in 30% of whatever you make every month if you can't afford to do that. Put away, save whatever you can afford into a little pot, and whether it's not enough when you get to the end, but at least if your bill's £1,000, you've saved 500 quid. Well, happy days. You've only got another £500 to find. Just every little helps. Isn't that Tesco's? Every little helps. Don't stress on a specific percentage of, oh my God, what should I put away? Put away what you can afford. Because I could say to you, Bill, put 40% away. I can't afford 40%. If you can't do it, then you can't do it.
Just for those that are burying their heads in the sand, what kind of fines do they get issued with for late tax returns?
Usually the first one you'll get is £100. And then they leave it a couple of months and you'll get another £100. And then I think after 6 months, they start then giving you daily interest and daily fines. So it goes up quite steep. So it starts off ish 100 quid, then another 3 months 100 quid, then another 3 months 100 quid, and then they'll say, right, hang on. And they won't always send you a letter either. It's the same when they send you a letter to fill in your tax return. You'll probably get one, and that's in April, to say, remember to fill in your tax return. Then you might get one in January, and you think, oh heck. So it's not unlocked to start with, but the longer you leave it, the more it goes up. I've had people range from £600 fines to £15,000 fines, and that's purely because they've just thought, I don't want to look at it. It's when you look and you think, I don't want to look at my bank account, don't want to look at it. And they just think, I know if I log into HMRC, I'm going to see all those fines. I just don't want to do it. So they just leave it. And then obviously it goes up and up and up.
And if people are having issues with paying tax that they owe, what can they do about it?
So HMRC are very good on this, and I've got to give them credit for that. If you get a tax bill and you think, bugger, I can't pay, then all you have to do is ring them up. And my tip would be to ring them early mornings at 8 o'clock. Don't leave it till lunchtime or the afternoon. You'll be there hours. Ring them first thing in the morning and say to them, I cannot afford to pay my tax bill. And they will set you up a direct debit to pay monthly. You cannot just decide to do it yourself. So you can't just sit there and go, all right, I'll just pay 50 quid in every month to my account. They have to physically set it up for you, so it's registered on their system so that you don't then get a fine. So yeah, ring them up, ask them to put on a direct debit plan, and they will talk you through, and you can discuss between yourselves how much you can pay every month until it's paid off. But they will have to update the system. You can't just do it off your own back. But they are very, very good. Like they're not scary. HMRC aren't scary. They just can be very unhelpful sometimes. It depends who you get on the other end of the phone. And it's the same with us. We have a separate line, a separate phone line, and it still takes us 45 minutes to get through. And it still depends on who you get on the other end of the phone. But they are there to help you, and they will help you as long as you communicate with them. Absolutely fine. It's when, like you say, people bury their head in the sand, ignore the brown envelopes, and just think, oh, it'll go away. That's when it gets a bit tricky. And even as accountants, we do not like communicating with HMRC. The last thing that you want is HMRC poking their nose into your business. You just don't want it. Just keep them away. So yeah, just ring them and they will sort it out for you.
All right, and we'll just touch on your government gateway account, and I think this should be a little campaign that we should run. A little wristband saying know your number, know your government gateway number, because all the information's there, isn't it? You can go in and find out fines, you can find out how much you owe, when your tax return is due, when how much to pay, how to pay it. It's all on your gateway.
Everything is on there, and it's amazing how people email me and go, Vicky, what about this? Vicky, can I have this? Vicky, can I have that? And it is all on your government gateway. And I say, just log into your government gateway and it's all in there. I don't know my password. Or what's a government gateway? You will always get that when you register as self-employed. If there are 3 things you need to keep are your UTR number, your unique tax reference number, which is a 10-digit number, your government gateway ID, and your government gateway password. Those are the 3 things that you just need to put. I mean, I have a thing on my phone that's probably not safe or wise, but I have a thing on my notes, and I have every single password for everything in my life is on my phone in my notes section. So if anyone gets my phone, I'm screwed because it's all in there. But that's where it's all kept, and I have to put it in there because we have so many passwords for things. Everything now that we could do online is, oh, what's your email and password? You need to keep a hold of it, because as accountants, we don't get your government gateway ID and password. That is private, that's solely your individuals. We don't get access to that. So yeah, just make sure that you write it down. And when you register with HMRC, any correspondence that you get will have that UTR number in the top corner. Like I say, it's a 10-digit number. And that's what you need to submit your tax return, or if you get an accountant or a bookkeeper, that's what we need in order to submit your tax return as well.
So that's a task for everyone listening to this chat. Is your first task is to go and locate your government gateway, and then your second task is to log in. You can't break it. You can't do anything wrong. Log into your government gateway and look around it. Press all the buttons. Look at all the options. Look at all the information. Have they got the correct phone number, email address? The correct name? Have you got married? And do you need to
address is a big one. So many people will say, oh, I didn't get my code, or I'll say it's not worked. Oh yeah, I haven't updated my address. So you must update your address to HMRC, because otherwise all the correspondence will go there, and they're not very forgiving with excuses. If you've got a genuine reason, and I've had a couple of clients who've had large fines, and they've had genuine reasons, like whether that be health reasons or personal reasons that have happened in that year that have stopped them doing something. And that's where we come in to do. So I sent letters of appeal to HMRC, which again is a very scary thing to do, because we never want HMRC to look into anything. And it's a bit like, oh, all right, okay. So you send a letter of appeal off to HMRC, basically saying, look, they haven't done X, Y, and Z. This is the reason. Is there anything you can do? Sort of like wink, wink, nudge, nudge, like as in erase it. And actually, the one that I did, and you know who it is as well, it got wiped. They said, yep, fine, we've read your circumstances, we'll take that on board, and we've wiped your fines. So again, another few £1,000s saved, because they went out and got help and didn't think, oh, I'll just leave it. And they actually wiped it. Like I said, they're very reasonable, but it won't be, oh, I forgot, or I was a bit busy, or it got sent to the wrong address, or all that sort of stuff. They won't have that as an excuse. But if you've got genuine reasons why things weren't done, then it's worth a gamble.
Yeah. So one task, if you do anything off the back of this talk, locate your government gateway, log into your government gateway, and get yourself familiar. And it also leads into a question that Emma's just submitted about national insurance. You can actually check your national insurance record and see if you've got gaps, make sure it's all paid for. So Emma's question is, obviously she has gaps in her national insurance from 3 years ago. Is it worth paying into it now to get rid of the gaps, or waiting until the future to update it and close off the gaps?
I guess it depends on your thoughts and feelings on pensions. I know some people go, pensions is not going to be worth nothing by the time I reach 70. So it really depends on your view on pensions. But if you want to carry on paying it so that you get your state pension whenever that may be, if it is still in play by the time we get that old, who knows? But yeah, it's a simple thing. Just ring up HMRC and say you want to fill in the gaps. They'll send you a bill and you pay it and it'll update itself. I think if that's something that you want to do, then you may as well just get it done now so that you're up to date. And when you come to do your tax return, your national insurance is automatically calculated within that tax return. So if you hit the relevant thresholds, which I think is 6 something and 9 something, don't ask me off the top of my head. If you hit those thresholds, then your national insurance is automatically calculated within that tax return. So when you get your final bill at the end of the tax return, that will include your national insurance. If you don't hit those thresholds and say you made a loss or you didn't make enough to pay national insurance or tax, there is a button on the tax return that will say, do you want to voluntarily pay your national insurance? And it'll give you an amount. Usually it's £158.60. And you just click the button and say, yes, I'd want to pay that. And then when you get to the end, all your bill will be is £158.60. And that is your national insurance that you have to pay. If you don't click it, then obviously that's when the gaps will occur. So when I do tax returns, I always say to people, look, you haven't hit that threshold. Do you want to pay it? And it's up to them. Some people say yes, some people say no. It depends on your personal view on pensions. You know, what you want to do. I'd get a private pension personally.
So, okay, that's cool. And I'll just tag you in another comment that Emma said. Do you take on new customers that don't have high tax bills?
Yeah, of course I do.
That's it.
Yeah. I was thinking, hang on. Yeah, you mean normally people, I normally 9 times out of 10, I'll always save people money. I've said it to loads of people, look, don't pay me if I don't save you money. It's all about knowing your expenses. It's not really, it's again, the tax return is important, but if you don't get the expenses bit right, you'd be paying the government money that you don't need to pay them. And stuff like mobile phone bills, broadband, magazine subscriptions, Spotify, stuff like, it's all random stuff that you pay for your business, but you don't think about putting it through on your expenses. And obviously that's where someone like me would come in and be like, well, hang on a minute. All my other groomers have X, Y, and Z. Why have you not got it? Oh no, I do have it. I just haven't put it on. And it's, even though it's a couple of pounds here and there sometimes, like Spotify, it's £7.99. It's not really going to break the bank. But that could mean the difference between you having a tax bill and you not having a tax bill. So it is about all your expenses. So anyone, you know, I know some accountants actually will have a set, you must earn this amount of money, otherwise we won't take you on. I'm more than happy to take anybody on. If they're stuck and they need help, then I will help anybody. It doesn't matter how much you earn or how little you earn. I will help you if needs be.
Just to clear up a few points, record keeping, how long do you need to keep records for? Don't spit your drink out.
I know, yeah. I'm being posh today. Usually I have like a pint. Today I've got fizz. I don't know why. I've seen the bill. The bottle just looked fancy in Costco when I went there earlier, and I thought, oh, that looks fun.
I feel like it's an egg timer. Like as soon as you get to the bottom of your glass, that's me done, and that's the conversation over.
Yeah, you've got a couple of sips left. So you have to keep your receipts for a minimum of 6 years, and that's because HMRC can come and audit you within that period. So if they say, right, I want your books from this time, you've got to be able to provide the receipts. Whether that will change when things go digital, because obviously they're going to want you to upload your receipts to the transaction in the software. That may change then, but yeah, keep your receipts for 6 years. If you're using a spreadsheet, if you're writing things down, please try and get to grips with the software. I know when I say 2024, it sounds ages away. It will creep up. If you think coronavirus started 2 years ago, I mean, it's mad. So it will creep up. So please get to grips with it. I do run training sessions on Free Agent. So if you're not in my group, I'm going to do a cheeky plug. Accounting for pet.
Thinking already.
Oh, have you? All right. If you're on the group, accounting for pet professionals, and you're on Free Agent, I do hold regular training sessions. There's one on Monday, the 7th, 6th, and you can get a ticket for that on my group. If you're a client of mine, then just email me and you will get that free, and Charlotte will add you to the Zoom meeting. So again, just try and get on it. It doesn't have to be Free Agent. You can use QuickBooks, Xero, Sage, QuickFile. There's all sorts out there. I would stick to the main ones. If you're going to use one, I've used Free Agent or QuickBooks would be my recommendation. Sage and Xero are aimed at accountants at accountant level. And then you've got QuickBooks that's sort of in the middle. And then you've got Free Agent and QuickFile are sort of very, very user-friendly. So just pick the right one that's going to be useful for you, but get on it and just start playing around with it, if anything. And try and stay clear of the spreadsheet. As much as I love spreadsheets, this software will keep you much more up to date with your finances, and it will take you 1/10 of the time. All you've got to do, click, 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 make sure that you label them correctly, done, rather than sit and typing date, dog, time, amount. You know, it'll take you hours doing a spreadsheet.
Okay, so keep your receipts for 6 years. If they are digital receipts, same again, but put them in an inbox. So if you get an email from Amazon, phone bills, etc., put them in get a separate folder in your inbox and just move it to receipts.
Yeah, or get a Dropbox, or get an external hard drive and just save them all in that. There's a few ways you can do it, but yeah, you don't have to print them off. I mean, save your paper and the trees and the ink of printing all of your Amazon receipts off. Just keep them digitally. Like I said, on a cloud or in an email, or in an external hard drive. If you've got an Apple Mac that doesn't have a plug-in thing. Yeah, just as long as you keep them, and then once that 6 years is over, you can just bin them, burn them, do what you want with them, and just get rid of them, but just store them safely. It's very unlikely that HMRC will ever audit a company that's under £100,000. I'm not going to say never, because obviously they do dip sample and stuff like that, but it's very, very rare. But still, keep your receipts, and just in case, because you might be that one person that's unlucky, that like, hello, I want all your receipts, and you're like, crap, I burned them. But yeah, just keep a hold of them and get on the software would be my tip for 2022.
And if say theoretically you got audited and you didn't have the receipts, what would they actually do?
Well, I've never had it happen, so I don't know. But I would have thought, if you say you've claimed, I don't know, £2,000 for a hydro bath, and they say, right, what's this £2,000 for? And you go, oh, it's a hydro bath. Well, where's the receipt? I don't have it. Right. Is it on your bank statement? No, I pay cash. They might say, well, you've got no record of it anywhere. How do we know you've not made that up? And they may take it off and say, well, actually, we'll recalculate your tax return.
Yeah.
Because obviously they know that people make up their expenses. Some people out there will completely make up their expenses, will not claim or not put on as much as they should. And then obviously when coronavirus hit and it was going off your turnover and stuff, all those people were screwed because they hadn't put actually what they'd actually earned onto the tax return. They'd put a fraction of what they'd earned to keep their tax bill down. But then that backfired because they only got a small amount of SEIS grant because they're going off what they put down. So, you know, it's karma. Just be honest and put it all in and keep your receipts and pay your tax bill. There's so many people out there that I know, and people have come to me previously in the past and said, oh, I want you to do this, but I want this to happen, or I haven't done this. And I say, well, you can't do that. I know I can't, but I want to do it anyway. And I go, well, go and find someone else because I'm not doing it. So, they know. And I think that's part of the reason why they bring in this software and why we're going to have to record everything every 3 months is to try and stop people from doing that. You're never going to eliminate it. Someone even said to me today, oh, my builder has said if I have to pay a card and give them the receipt, then I'll have to pay VAT. But if I pay cash, don't have to pay the VAT. I'm like, yeah, of course you don't, because they're just going to pocket the cash and not record it. And it did make me chuckle. And it's the same. I got my bathroom done last year or the year before. And he was like, well, it's this much, but if you pay me in cash, it's this much. And I turned around to him and I went, I am an accountant. And he went, and I went, you cheeky sod. I said, I know what you're doing. But do you know what I mean? People do it and it'll never stop. But it will backfire if something like Corona happens again and they can't claim as much as they actually could have if they put the right amount through.
And that kind of leads me on, I suppose what we find in our groups, my group and your group, is someone will put a question in about, oh, should we go down log cabins? And they're like, well, my accountant says yes, and my accountant says no, and blah, blah, blah. This is all about risk, isn't it? At the end of the day, us as a business owner, we sign those accounts off saying they are true to the best of our knowledge, our belief.
Yeah.
It's all about risk. Now, if you're going to take that cash in, or you're going to make up expenses, or you're going to put that log cabin through your accounts, it's all done on risk. You're taking that risk personally, but the HMRC might come across it and they might go, actually, that's not allowed, and you could have it back, sort of thing. So that's why we get the different opinions, and accountants never agree.
We never agree. There's some things we'll always agree on. There's some things that are absolute no. So, for example, I get a lot of these questions. Can I claim back massage, chiropractors, gyms, all that sort of stuff? And that is an absolute no. There's no disagreement between accountants. That is a no. You cannot do it. Stuff with log cabins and structures, again, is an absolute no. But some people will put it through. Some people might say, well, actually, protective clothing for a groomer they'd have to be wearing an apron and some goggles. I don't think I've ever seen a groomer wear goggles. I know it does happen. I've never ever seen it. As soon as I say that, I think of the Minions. I don't know why. And one accountant might say to you, right, I'm only going to allow you to put an apron and goggles through because it's protective clothing. And technically, they're correct. It is protective clothing only, unless it's logoed like our hoodies are. But for me, common sense has got to prevail. I know that groomers go through a lot of clothes because of the hair and the crap and everything that goes on their clothes. As long as you don't take the mick and go to Gucci and buy yourself a £500 pair of jeans and a £600 jumper and try and put that through the books. If you go to Primark and buy leggings and some t-shirts because all your other ones have got ruined, then to me that's common sense and it relates to the job role that you do. So I've been more than happy, and I do on my client's account. I'll say, right, if you've gone and bought shoes and leggings and tops and whatever, put it through. As long as I don't take the piss, then I will take that risk, because for me, it's common sense. If HMRC came and knocked to my door and said, why have you put this through? I'd say, well, they're a dog groomer, X, Y, and Z, this is why. Well, that's logical. But I couldn't justify if I put £600 worth of chiropractor bills through and they came and said, well, what's that? And I said, oh, it's chiropractor. And they go, well, that's not allowed. I couldn't argue that, because I'm like, well, actually, I know you're right. It's not. And the same with the log cabins. You're not allowed to put structures through. It's an absolute no. So again, if I put that through and they came knocking, I couldn't justify that. It's too high risk for me. And I know some accountants would do it because of the likelihood of them ever finding out is very slim. But for me, it's just not worth the risk. And I say that to clients, look, these are your options. This is what you could do and you could get away with it. I wouldn't recommend it, but if that's what you want to do, that's up to you. But I have to give you the options and the consequences of those options that you pick. If you decide after I've told you that to still go with that risky option, then that's absolutely fine, as long as it's not like totally illegal. And I think, well, fine, if you want to take that risk, then that's up to you. And stuff like clothing and telephone and other things that may differ between accountants, for me, I think as long as you can justify it and it's reasonable and it's relative to the job that you do, then all day long I might stretch the rules a little bit. But again, I had a personal trainer years ago that was putting thousands of pounds worth of clothing through. And I mean thousands. I think, well, yes, I know you go through a lot of trainers and shorts and t-shirts, but to have 4 or 5 grand's worth of clothing was just unrealistic. And I said to him, I can't put that through because it's ridiculous. And I was like, they will look at your job role and look at your clothing, like, hang on a second, this just doesn't marry up. And that's when they start delving in, which is what you don't want. So you're right, it's all about the level of risk, and it's the same with prices when you put on your group, or my account says this, my account says that, or someone will put how much do people pay for sole trader accounts. It's always on the groups, and you get about 1,500 different answers. And someone might look and go, well, actually, why am I paying £300 if they're only paying £100? But it all depends on your personal circumstances. They might have employees, they might be VAT registered, they might be a limited company. All sorts might impact on that amount. And again, it's something that I would never say to people, don't compare on prices of those things, because there's so many variables on what you might get charged, and there's so many variables of what answers that we may give you. But there are some things are an absolute no, like the chiropractor massage. I mean, I'd love to get a massage. I sit down all day. Can I have a massage? And HMRC would be like, okay, your back hurts. I get it. You're standing all day. You're hunched over grooming dogs and your back hurts. Do you use your back solely for business? Well, no, it's a silly question. I'm a human being. I use it every day. Therefore, you can't claim it back as a business expense because you don't use it solely for your business.
That's the rule, isn't it?
Yeah, it sounds ridiculous. And when I say it out loud, it does sound ridiculous. And I do think it should be allowed because of the job role that you do. I think it would make sense. But there's no grey area of that. And we have an accountants group on Facebook that we discuss things with. And whenever that question comes up, everyone's just like, no. It's a thing that we agree on. It's one of the small things that we agree on.
You actually agree?
I know.
Okay.
It's the dullest Facebook group in the world.
We're going to try and wrap it up. There's one last question that's going to turn this into like Houses of Parliament.
Oh, God.
It's from Lauren.
Just take a sip. Is it from Lauren again?
It's from Lauren.
I'll have words with her later.
Yeah. Let me just find it. So it's a bit... Right. Talking of growing my business, and Lauren is growing, when should I be thinking about going
limited? Our favourite question, one that me and Bill are like that with. Look, there's no right or wrong answer. You can go limited straight away, you can go sole trader straight away. You're not going to get told off by anyone, whichever one you pick. From a purely financial perspective, and this may change in the coming years because of the changes in corporation tax and things, but at the minute, unless you're earning 30, 40, 50 grand profit, I wouldn't bother going limited. But saying that, it depends. If you're going for premises, when you're renting premises, buying premises, they prefer you to be limited. So it just depends on where you're at and what you're doing. But if you say you've got a salon in your garden or attached to your garage and you're earning, your profit is 10 grand, 15 grand, there is no point going limited. And that is because it will cost you more in accountancy fees than you will save in tax. So you're not going to get any tax savings if your profit's 10, 15 grand being a limited company than you would a sole trader. But you'll pay £1,200 in accountancy fees for a limited company, or you pay £300 as a sole trader. And you're not saving anything. So it's just kind of like, why do it to yourself? So for me, there's obviously other factors that may influence your decision. But if you're not earning 30k plus profit, it's, for me, I just don't see why you'd give yourself the stress of doing it. But like I said, there's no right or wrong answer. I know you like people doing it to get them in that mindset of being a proper business, and I get that. And if that's what people want to do, then like I said, there's no right or wrong answer. All I would say is if you're going to go limited and you don't have the knowledge of how that works or how that runs and the accounts that you have to do, then please, please, please seek help. Lauren, if you get to that point, or if you want to go limited, then I will happily switch you over. You can do it any time of the year. It's not an issue. There's certain times in the year where it's better. It saves us more work, but you can literally switch whenever you like. But there's no right or wrong answer. It depends on your situation and where you're at and what you're looking to do.
Yeah, and I'd say, if you're looking to pile money into a pension, then limited could be an option, couldn't it? Because your business pays that pension for you before you get taxed. So that's a potential tax saving, isn't it?
Yeah, there's perk, like I say, that there's plus points and minus points to sole traders, there's plus and minus points to limited companies. It really just depends where you're at, I guess, and what you want and where your business is going. There's a lot of factors. I know some people go limited, and I've had conversations with hundreds of people. Oh, well, my mate down the road said to do it. And you think, right, okay, well, how much do you profit? Well, I only earn like $6,000 a year. And it's like, and they're stressed as hell because they don't know how to work it. The dividends and pay and company accounts and CT 600s but then I need to do my self-assessment and it gets all confusing because they're all different dates. And just don't do it to yourself. If you're new, just be a sole trader. There's nothing wrong with it. Like I say, I guess a perk of a limited company is that no one else can have your name, your business name. So if you decide to call yourself Fluffy Paws Limited, then no one else can have Fluffy Paws Limited. But if you're a sole trader and you have Fluffy Paws, 10 other people could have Fluffy Paws. So like I say, there's positives and negatives to both of them. It just depends on your personal situation, I think. I don't think that I could give a one answer to fit all. It just depends on your situation.
Awesome. Well, your glass is empty. My time is up.
I've had 5, so luckily I'm still awake.
My God.
I'm getting ready for Crufts.
Yeah, well, that's the whole reason why we did this talk, wasn't it? Because we're going to Crufts next week. We've not really got around to talking about that, but we're at Crufts.
We are at Crufts. Bill's left it for me to organise, which is never a good thing. I would you believe, had to tempt him to come to Crufts in the first place. So if you all see, we've got me to thank for that. I dragged him along. We are Hall 4, stand 109. So come and see us. If you do want to have a chat with either of us or both of us, then I know Bill's put out some sort of booking system. If you do want to chat with us and make sure that you do get that time, then please let us know in advance and we can book you in a time slot. Because when we found we've done these before, we end up with a bit of a queue and people don't really get to speak to us and we feel bad. So just if you do specifically want to speak to one of us about anything, then just drop us either an email. I don't have a fancy booking system like Bill. So just drop me a message or an email, or either one of us, and we'll make sure that we keep that time free so that we can have a chat with you. But yes, come and say hello. Bill's actual wife will be there, so people won't get us confused. I won't be like, oh, are you Bill's wife? That is actually Bill's wife stood there. So that'll be fun. Come and say hello. We'll be there all week. If you come and see us on the last day, we'll probably look like zombies because we'll be absolutely drained. But we've got some freebies to give away, haven't we? Some goodie bags.
Yeah. Poo bags, all sorts.
Poo bags. We have a goodie bag for everyone. So if nothing else, come and get some free stuff for me and Bill, and just come and say hello. It's lovely to see you all actually in person rather than on Facebook. And if any of my clients are watching, then please come and say hello.
Just remember to introduce yourself because we struggle with Facebook images, profile pictures that are dogs and all sorts of stuff, and then people come up to us and say, "Hi, I'm so," and it's like, "Hi." So don't think we're not being rude. We just might not recognize who you are or to begin with, but it always clicks together. So you say, "Hi, I'm in your group," or We saw you live the other day. And so come and speak to us if you're a brand new pet groomer, you're just coming into the industry. Vicky and I have got a business startup course, which is specifically put together for brand new pet groomers, so you can get your business started with confidence, support, and make sure that you're doing it right from the very beginning. Because we found the people that we've been helping have got themselves into pickles sometimes, or have not had the knowledge around starting a business. So we want people to start it right.
Yeah, and I think there's such a huge difference from the people that we have done that course. When they come back to me, sort of, however many months later, everything is how it should be. It's like, oh yeah, I've done that, and they're all set up, and there's just no drama, there's no stress. They've got the foundations there, and they just need then that help just to build on it. Massive difference from people doing that course to people who come to me and have tried to do it themselves and got themselves into a bit of a muddle. So yeah, really worth doing.
Or as Lauren says, we could change your life. Thank you, Lauren.
Yeah.
If you're new, Vicky and Bill will change your lives. Wow. That is awesome.
Oh, bless you, Lauren. Lauren, you best come and say hello after giving me all these questions today. I'll slap your wrist.
Right.
But yeah, no. Yes, it's 8:45. I'm drowning in paperwork still, but no more tonight because I've had too much to drink.
Don't drink and do tax returns.
Yeah, don't drink and do tax returns. It never ends well.
And again, Lauren's been the star pupil tonight. She's logged into her government gateway already and all over it. So
good.
Come and see us at Crufts. Find your government gateway, log into your government gateway, make sure you know what it is, what it does, look at all the options, press all the buttons, and then don't drink and do tax returns. There's your core messages from tonight's chat.
And get help. If you're stuck, I am taking on clients. I work across the UK, so location is not an issue. I don't care how big or small you are. If you need help, Bill's put my details in the group, and I'll probably pop something in the group. Drop me an email, go on the group, my group, and you can contact me there and just get help, and I will, make all that stress disappear. I can't promise to save everyone 14 grand, but I'll do my best.
Yeah, excellent.
All right,
thanks for joining us. And,
that's all right.
Anytime. See you next week.
I will see you next week. All right, take care, everyone. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.